compulsive behaviors that has just completely disrupted their life and your life. That's what we're going to get into tonight. We've got some hope to offer, and we've got some real solutions. Even if you, in fact, especially if you've been in this struggle for a while, we want to help you because we've been there and we've made it to the other side. And for the last 2 decades, we've been helping families of addiction get the same outcome, the same transformation that our family has been through. So, here's some tips. If your home is more chaos than peace, you might want to stick around. If you find yourself up late at night worrying about somebody else, um, are they alive? Have they been in a car wreck? Um, who are they with? Have they overdosed? Are they in the hospital? If you've spent thousands of hours trying to fix somebody else, or maybe you keep rescuing somebody else thinking, well, maybe this time it'll work, only to be disappointed again. You're probably exhausted, frustrated, and feeling pretty hopeless and desperate by now if you've been through that. So, this conversation tonight is for you for sure. Tonight, we're going to talk about how to break free from these old ideas that keep people stuck in addiction, how to break free from the chaos, even when your loved one, whether it's a spouse or an adult child or a teenage child, whoever that might be, even if they're still in the struggle and don't seem interested in getting help, there are very specific things that families can do in changing their strategies that will always bring your loved one, the addict, towards recovery. So stick around. It's not going to be long tonight. So I know it's late, but hang with us because we've got some things to share.
Yeah, I'm really excited about tonight. We get to talk to families who have tried everything, and that's what I do during the day. Is I get to answer the phone calls of those family members, and they don't even recognize themselves. A lot of them have so much chaos in their household that they're just exhausted, they're tired, and they don't know what to do next. Nobody gave you a book when you had your baby at the baby shower that says how to fix your adult addict. Nobody gave that manual, to them, so they don't know how to do that. I mean, and neither did we until we started making some major changes and started listening to people who have been where we've been, and that was huge for us. So if we're hitting any of those notes with you guys, those things that y'all thought at nighttime before, like Mom said, worrying about your loved one, we've got some exciting things to share with you. We'd love to hear where y'all are calling from or where you're at.
Yeah.
Who's watching us, and we'd like to get your name. Maybe we can have a little bit of dialect going on, and
for sure.
we can hopefully help somebody and give somebody some hope. That's the most important thing about recovery, is that it's not just for the person who has the addiction, but it's for the entire family.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people on the phone, they don't even think about that. They are just worried about their loved one.
Yeah.
But when I give them, an example of like, hey, how about this? What would it look like if your whole family was in recovery? They're like, what? That's not. They can't even think that.
It's unheard of.
Right.
Nobody even thinks that way.
No. So that's what we really work with individuals here. And the family has to be part of the process in order to have that true transformation.
Yeah.
And it starts healing that trauma that everybody's put each other through. And we know y'all are out there struggling, so we're here for you guys, and you're not alone.
That's the crazy part too, is it really is possible. Change is possible. But like you pointed out, families get so stuck in that chaos, and they get stuck in that wrong belief that if we could just fix them, if we could just rescue them, if we could just get them another apartment, or we could love them enough, or we could buy them enough clothes and cars and pay off enough debt and pay off enough bills, then they would be okay.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we've seen families run that cycle for decades with no change.
And they're also scared to set boundaries because they think if they set boundaries with their loved one that they're going to maybe lose them, or, if they tell them, no, you can't come home tonight, that they might die out there in being on the streets. So
Yeah.
they're just totally confused and don't know what to do different. And uh, recovery doesn't happen fast. That's the thing that I tell families too. We have to. It's it's a process. It's not just an event. It's a process, and that's what takes time.
I think one of the ways that addicts become manipulators, and if you don't know who we are Miles and Tina from Justin's Lighthouse Recovery. We are actually professionals in the field. We've been operating Justin's Lighthouse Recovery for over 2 decades now. But before we could help a single family, we had to get better. Our family was a family of addiction. We grew up in alcoholic homes. We've overcome our own personal struggles with substance abuse well over 2 decades ago. So we've been on all sides of this thing. We are recovering addicts. We've had family members be recovering or addicts, not necessarily recovering. And personally, I've had the three men in my family are all dead because of addiction and alcoholism, including my younger brother. So we we we've seen all sides. We've been all sides, and the things that we're talking about is not theory. We have we we offer this through our program now for 20 years, and we've watched family after family after family become transformed, even after years of in and out of rehab, in and out of this, in and out of that, new apartments, maybe some jail time, another rehab, another psych ward, until they get to the point where they think they've tried everything,
Yep.
nothing's going to change.
They have zero hope.
None. And
Yep.
then change occurs when they finally learn right strategies. And that's the key, is learning what does work. And unfortunately, the treatment industry, the mainstream treatment industry, is not geared toward affecting a transformation. It's not geared to really changing people.
Right.
It's geared to get you stabilized and then out the door. And if you come back 3 times in 1 year, well, that's cool too, because you're just their repeat business. And the reality is, like, the programs that we operate are we're not trying to get repeat business. We want to work with you one time through a period of time and let you move into the world with a completely new way of thinking, a new sense of yourself, and that includes the families.
I really like the fact that we get to watch their lives, like you said, grow completely different than where they were at. There's
That's part of it.
nothing, more exciting to see somebody come back and, let's say, for a group or whatever, or come back and bring their kid. We've had people that come back and bring their new babies and stuff. And just the other day, we had a lady that stopped by. She'd been here for 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
And it was like we had just met that first day.
Yeah.
Our clients become our friends and our family too. They share a lot with us. So that's one thing I get excited about, is hearing and seeing their progress and how their life changes.
And now she's months away
Yep.
from completing her PhD. Yeah, those are the success stories.
Yep.
And it's hard to when you're a family in crisis, it's hard to believe that that's possible, because you've believed that you've tried everything and it didn't work for you, so you're just going to be one of those families that just your loved one just isn't going to make it. But we are here to tell you, as personal testimonies and as professionals, it is absolutely possible. It does happen. And so let's I'm checking my notes here. We had some specific things on here. Where are those the false beliefs? Well, I could probably just rattle them off the top of my head. So, if tell me if some of these don't sound familiar. Believing that treatment doesn't work. Believing that if you can just love them enough, then they'll be better. Believing the promises when your loved one who's struggling with addiction or alcohol, whatever it is, when they're going through periods of little stability, and they're telling you, I promise, I don't even think about it, I'm never going to go back. And as family members, we want to believe that. How many times have we believed that?
Absolutely.
only to be disappointed again. That's what throws us off. Here's and we've got some questions for you. If somebody out there wants to rattle off
And I'm going to
some
check and see
comments.
if we have anybody on here watching us too. So since this is new and we're doing it.
Oh yeah, we have been. Yeah, we're working with a bit of a learning curve. So if you're on, we're not able to see it yet, but we're going to check another route. How many times have you said, this is the last time that we're going to rescue them, and then you found yourself doing it again? We got to be honest, as families of a loved one who's struggling, really that's unlimited,
Right.
because that's instinctual. Of course we're going to keep trying to help them when they're uncomfortable. It's a very familiar instinct. We want to help them be more comfortable. But here's why that's never worked long term, because the addiction brain is not a rational brain. Addiction has rewired the brain. So when the family offers comfort, right, we pay their bills off, we get the stress out of their life, we get their house repaired, maybe the car repaired, maybe get them a new apartment, help them change towns, help them, whatever it is, may help them with a new job, give them some money, anything to help them feel less stress. With a new job,
Oops, sorry.
Some money, anything
that
to
always
help
do
them
that.
feel,
Sorry about that.
yeah, got a little reverb here.
With a new job. Oops, sorry.
But it doesn't
That
work.
always do
That only works with a rational person, because the addict brain. Here, let me tell you what the addict perspective is. The addict perspective is oh, cool. Um, I didn't have a lot of consequences. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and everything's cool. And very quickly, the addict drops their guard and they slip back into old behavior because no change occurred. Recovery is all about change, not stopping using. So stopping drinking, stopping using, stopping whatever that compulsive behavior is good, but and they look good, they feel good for periods of time. We're like, yay, we're gonna make it. Our loved one is gonna make it. Let's get the car fixed. Let's get this. Let's get that. But that's why it never works. So 3 months later, 4 months later, maybe 30 days later, there they go again, and everybody is confused by that, even the addict, because the addict intended to do well. But here's the thing, they don't know how to do well. Their brain has been rewired, and it's been rewired for a very long time. So they're always going to default back into whatever that pre-programming is. So logic doesn't work. Although it's well intentioned, this is one of the primary ways that families accidentally keep the addiction cycle going.
Right.
Well, imagine if you're a family member and you could learn what right strategies actually look like. If all this sounds very familiar to you, what if you knew what to do different and were willing to do it to get different results? What a game changer would that be? Well, it would be a massive game changer, and I think it's really important to spend time thinking about. If everything had changed, if everything could change the way you wished it would change, what would everybody's life look like a year from now?
I like asking families that. That's really, interesting, because when we tell them what it can look like, they're like, no way.
Yeah, no way.
You mean there's no more fighting? There's no more lying? There's no more, being sneaky, taking money out of my wallet? They just can't imagine that changing.
No more late night stress calls.
Exactly. Sleeping all night. Remember that time that we had that lady who said, this is the first time I've slept for 30 days straight.
Yeah.
Since in 5 years.
Yeah.
She had been waking up every night, because of her worry for her daughter. And that was the first time that she had slept. And she loved that. But it's so hard for them to imagine that.
We've heard that so often too.
Yeah.
But you have to look at it. You have to look at the same question in reverse. If nothing changes, then what does life look like 6 months from now? But if everything could change, what would life look like? The thing is it's hard to believe. It's hard to imagine, especially when when families have been so beat up by this process of addiction, it's hard to dream.
Right.
It's hard to be hopeful. It's hard to even spend any mental energy imagining, man, it could be so much better. Let's hold out hope, because you're just trying to get through the next 24 hours,
Right.
maybe the next 60 minutes. The sleepless nights, as you talk about, the random phone calls at night. You know, we have families, and it's usually a mom in particular that will have this particular trauma, that even to this day it becomes so traumatizing, wondering where their adult child is at night, waiting for the state troopers to show up at the door, and there's been an accident, and or have they overdosed, that even years after the person, the addict, completely transformed their lives, mom will still panic at night if the doorbell rings after dark.
Right.
Having nothing to do with anything bad, just a random, kid down the street wondering if Johnny's home or whatever. But that's how, as a recovering addict, that's the perspective of the addict. We put so many of our family members through unbelievable hell and don't really understand it. But that's
Right.
the disease of addiction. Everybody's brain gets rewired in this thing. The families are traumatized. The addict is traumatized. So, are we? Do we have any comments?
It doesn't look
You
like
guys-
we do.
Well, give us a comment.
It said one person, but
Where
I
would-
don't see it.
Where would what would life look like if everything could change for you? What would your life look like a year from now? Let's talk about boundaries. What's a healthy boundary look like?
That's a good one.
There's a big difference between help and relief. We spend a lot of time talking about this. What we think we've been helping as family members, we think we've been helping. The addict thinks they've been asking for help, but what we're really doing is we're offering relief. Relief is, hey, here's my problem. It makes me feel uncomfortable, anxious, irritable, restless, whatever that is, afraid. And if you would just solve the problem, then I wouldn't have to feel so bad.
Right.
And as families will swoop in, and that's what I mean by taking away all of their stress. Family members will swoop in, and we'll pay off the car so they don't have to worry about the repo guys chasing them around town, or we'll get the car fixed so they don't have to bum rides to work, or whatever it is that the addict is telling us is causing them so much anxiety. And so what happens is, as soon as that little problem gets solved and we've helped our loved one feel better, they just default right back into old behavior and create another crisis for themselves. And so we're constantly offering relief, but we think we're offering help. Help is supportive based. Real help, moves our addict towards change. So, in other words, hey, I've got this. They're going to repossess my car. I need help with my car payment. Well, okay, but that's the consequence of your behavior. However, we will help you go to treatment. We will help you go to counseling. We will help you do something that moves you forward. And if you'll do that, then maybe we still may help with the car payment.
Right.
But it's an equal value for value relationship. And that's how addicts change, because they will resist that.
Right.
They'll say, oh, no. I'll take the car payment, but I don't want I don't want to go to get help. And as soon as family members make the addict do their behavior first, then everything begins to change.
And that's the stuff that the families learn how to do on our Thursday night meetings.
Yeah.
Every Thursday night at 6:00, we do a live. We usually do it on Facebook, and we're even trying to do it on YouTube too. But they learn different ways to answer. Instead of reacting to them, they respond to their loved one totally differently. And at first, the loved one is like, wait a minute, what's going on here? You always, get me that hotel room when I call you and tell you I don't have a place to sleep tonight. You always get me something to eat. You always go get me new clothes because I told you I've been in the same clothes for 2 days. And when the family says, no, not this time, but we will help you get help. And this is who you need to call to get the help.
Yeah.
But no, that's
It's
not what.
shocking.
Yeah, that's not what I'm used to. Why aren't you doing it? Are you mad at me? Do you not like me? Do you not love me? You know. And I tell the family, stand firm, because remember, you're helping him or her change the way they think. You know, you're helping them to realize that you're going to change the way you react and respond to them, so that they will eventually change. And that's hard because the
Yeah.
loved one who's having difficulty, they just want their problem solved. Like you said, they just want relief.
And it's been a long time.
Yeah. And if that's the way the family is trained, and that's what happens. The addict
Yeah.
trains the family how
Yeah.
to be. Because if not, I'm going to throw a fit, and you don't want me throwing a fit, because you know what happens. You know, and the family's like, okay, yeah, we don't want to have that happen. You know, so they go ahead and do it. But when they start doing things differently, and they start healing themselves and working in towards recovery,
Yeah.
it changes. So, but I always, in this always family, always say, but I know where to get you help, and you can call this person.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, something that changes, and eventually the loved one will come around, because they realize the family's not going to do the same thing that they did for the last 7 years. You know, things are changing. There's a new sheriff in town, and it's not Tina. They think it's me, but it's not.
Well,
It's the family
if
that
you think
wants
about
change.
it does make a lot of sense. It's part of the sickness. It's part of the sick family dynamic.
Absolutely.
It's part of addiction. When a person has always been rescued, you know, we're not talking once or twice. We're talking over periods of 10, 20, 30 years, where every single time they got themselves in a pinch, somebody came and bailed them out. Yeah, maybe they spent the night in jail, but it was the family that paid the bail. It was the families that paid the lawyers. It was the family that paid the court costs. It was the families that took the brunt of those consequences. So however dramatic that crisis was, the addict still isn't absorbing the majority of the consequences. So
Right.
so the day when families say, okay, no more, you're gonna have some pushback. That the addict brain can't really process that. Well, wait a minute. What do you mean? You've always said yes, and now you're saying no. But of course, that's not really what families are saying. Families are saying we're not gonna help you kill yourself anymore, but we will help you live.
We will help you heal yourself.
And that takes time. And
Yep.
that's, you know, recovery has to be a process. And when families are on board in that process and they understand what to do because they're following guidance and do it, the addict always follows.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I think without help for the family, families just get to a point where they're so overwhelmed and exhausted, the only thing left to do is disconnect.
Yeah.
And that's when you hear people say, well, they call it tough love, but that's not what tough love is. That is, we literally have done all we can think to do. None of it's helping. We're now near bankrupt, exhausted, frustrated,
Scared, mad,
mad, confused,
mm-hmm.
humiliated. You know, just the list goes on and on and on. And so, as a means to kind of protect themselves, the family members, it makes sense that they would just say, you know what, we just got to cut you loose. But that's not necessarily healthy either. But that's what hopelessness looks like. You don't know that anything else is possible. And
because they think they've tried everything.
Yeah, but you haven't.
Yeah.
If families have been following their own instincts and their own emotions, kind of those primal parental familial instincts, that's good. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
But they don't work with addiction. So when families can put themselves in a position to receive guidance, you know, when we have a legal issue, unless you're a lawyer, when we have a legal issue, we don't think we're going to go represent ourselves. We have a medical issue, we don't think we're going to go treat ourselves. It's the same thing with addiction. But families tend to try to treat addiction because it involves such bad behavior. And so we think, well, if they would just act better, then we would all do better. But that won't work, obviously. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. Bad behavior is certainly the primary characteristic, but it's not the problem. The brain distortion is the problem. So we wanted to just come on for a little bit tonight and offer as much hope as we can. And we say it over and over and over. Recovery is absolutely possible, including the family, especially the family. That's what really makes this whole thing work. But you've got to be a part of a right recovery system that focuses on the addiction science, behavioral science, common sense, spiritual development, with people who have lived experience, with people who've been where you are now. And they know what it looks like, they know what you're going through, and they know how to get you to the other side. And that's what we do. So that's why we want to invite you to join us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It doesn't matter the date because it's every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can click the link in our bio right here in YouTube. I think it's the first one. It'll say Justin's Lighthouse, and it'll take you straight to the link. Get registered. It's only $27, and what we're going to talk about at this 3-day workshop is straight from our curriculum. It's the same stuff that we teach our families here in our program that families pay tens of thousands of dollars for, and we're literally going to do this 3-day workshop for only $27. So get registered, get in our sphere. You're going to learn so much about what's going on, and you're going to leave with some real solutions. When you do register, you're actually going to get, from as a gift from us, you're going to get a free ebook called Breaking Free from Addiction, helping families and recognizing addiction. And there's a lot of solutions in there, which we sell for $54. So at the very least, you're going to get a book out of it. But don't get registered and not come to this workshop, because that's where the tremendous value is. If you really are ready to start moving forward and seeing some changes in not just yourself, but your loved one, this is the way to do it. We can guide you there, but you got to come and participate.
And I know it can seem scary because, people don't really like change, but they don't like the situation they're in either. But I promise you guys, if you just give it a chance, and your whole family deserves to be happy. Your whole family deserves to have peace. The chaos has stopped. You don't have to live like that anymore. There's a couple of things that you can change, and when that happens, it's a real blessing, and you guys start to have a totally different family that you can't even imagine right now, because you're not there yet.
Yeah.
But next, like Miles said, Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays, we do that, and we're excited about it. And if any family right now is going through a difficult time, please do not hesitate to drop a chat or drop a message. My number is also, I'll print that on there.
I think it's in our bio.
Yeah, it's in our bio. Our phone number's in there. Miles' email address is in there. So, we can get back with you guys. Don't have to go through it by yourself. Please give us a call. That's what we're here for, is to help families that are struggling, or, the addicts who are dealing with some heavy stuff and need somebody. We're here. You don't have to do this alone. And the good thing is that, a lot of people think that their lives are over because of addiction, but it's just begun, because it's a beautiful way to live.
Yeah, it's hard to move forward when you're so beat down.
Yeah.
And to know what you can trust. And so that's why we've made this thing so ridiculously affordable for the amount of information you're going to get. Come and learn some new information. And let me add, it's only 2 hours each of those days. It's not like marathon days. 2 hours Wednesday, 2 hours Thursday, 2 hours Friday. And you're going to leave having a completely different understanding of what your problem is, what the whole problem is, and how to go about solving it. You want to add anything?
No. Oh, I just did want to say we have a couple of beds available. If anybody's looking for a residential program, we do have that available. We would love to give you some details on that. So please don't hesitate to call. I like the fact that I was talking to a family today that their loved one just got out of the mental hospital, and he had to get regulated back on his medications. And I told them, we keep it small here because we do have outpatient people that we spend a lot of time with, and we give them a lot of attention. But the people that do in our residential program, they get a lot of attention because that's what they need. Their loved one needs that. And it's not like we're taking just one person. It could be a person with 10 family members.
Well,
it's a lot of
yeah, that's the
people.
thing. We don't take on
One
one
person,
at
yeah.
a time. We take on the family at a time.
That's right.
So if we have 6 residential clients, that's 30 people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easily.
And so it's a heck of a lot more intimate than the mainstream treatment industry. So that's why it's more effective. And we can get into some things that if you've been to rehab in the past and you didn't have much luck with it, that's one of the reasons why. It's not designed to change you. It was designed to stabilize you. Now that you're at this point, it's time to change.
Yep.
Right? Let's do some things different, and let's get a transformation. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, not just for your loved one, but for families too, parents too, siblings too, children too. A lot of our clients, they have children. We had children, when we first, our kids are grown and gone at this point, but when we first started our journey, our kids were little, and it's hard to rebuild a life if you don't know what to do.
Right.
But you get in front of people who know exactly what to do, and life starts getting so much easier.
I wanted to say one last thing. We talked about the family group that we have every Thursday night at 6:00, but there's also on YouTube videos that we have recorded the family groups for years now. And there's lots of videos that you guys can go watch and get information from. So
check
please,
those out.
check those out. They're there. They're free. You don't have to pay anything to watch them. And they're filled with a lot of hope and encouragement for the family. And a lot of times after people watch them, they're like, man, how did he know what we're dealing with? And it's because that's what addiction does. It causes a bunch of chaos in the family. So the solution is in those videos too. And that's the good thing about it.
Yeah, check them out for sure. They're right here on YouTube. We got some good shorts and some very informational regular videos. So we're going to call it. We're going to cut you guys loose. Thank y'all for watching.
Yes.
We're probably going to do another live again this weekend. So be on the lookout. Thank you guys.
Have a good night.